can't serve another God. I give my love because my brother's lost. Christians see watch they brother star. I can't serve another.
We got like 2 minutes left, alright? I forgot.
That's what I'm doing.
Let me check my messenger. You might see that a lot.
I don't know if that's something still relevant to call to the front to use that as examples.
I would say yeah for now. For now, yeah, I would say for now, yeah. When? Yeah, well, 2021 is going to be one hell of a year as that starts to, you know. Yeah, absolutely. You're right. Did you watch Cross the Line?
The last one.
Yeah. Yeah, I missed a little bit of it. I think it just started in the second one. Just do one thing. Of course, when we get started, what we do is we clap it up. And then we also you know, say pay your tithes and share the stream, and then you just go into your tithe however you want.
You introduce yourself.
Yeah, if you want to, yeah, that's up to you. Let me just see something real quick. Alright, let me get you together right now. Alright, you go ahead.
Alright, we live in St. Paul, clap it up. Alright, Shalom Israel, I.S.U.P.K, all the brothers, I.S.U.P.K, all the sisters. It's the I.S.U.P.K, Minneapolis, St. Paul, Twin City area, predominantly Minnesota, of the I.S.U.P.K under Commander General GEN.YAHANNA, established in 1969, 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. And again, going forward with the current field for society, actually, it's like before that, Israel, remember to pay your tithes. It's something that's very important to the upbuilding of a nation, to the foundation of the school and the community. Minneapolis, that's out not only in the Western Hemisphere, but in Europe also. A lot of it revolving around the uprise with the Black Lives Matter movement. George Floyd's incident, his murder, I should say, kicked off a whole domino effect of things that have been building up for 4 years prior to that. We've seen, let's take it all the way back to Emmett Till. From what we know in our current day and age, this is not the only time that we've seen these kind of acts of warfare. These ain't just crimes. When you look at the details behind it, the motivations behind it, and then the penalties that befell the people that transgressed those crimes, it's a blatant act of war. It's criminal warfare.
Right.
We get put in prison for committing crimes. They get to run Hollywood for the generations of crimes that they committed, while they are still locking up 100-year-old war criminals from previous events that should be done and over with by now. But we're dealing with the fresh cut. For the past couple of years, things have been escalating quite rapidly, and there's these movements. You got the Black Panther parties, you got the Black Lives Matter parties, you've got your Christian churches, if you can even call them that. You've got your lobbyists on Democratic and Republican sides. In all the different facets of politics, and mainly publicity. It's not that there's a genuine effort to make change. but there is a genuine outcry for attention by a lot of these parties. They don't care about the topic at hand, but they care about what that could lead to their own specific movements. So one of my favorite scriptures I want to start off with Zephaniah 2:1. Zephaniah 2:1. This is something that in the spirit of brotherhood we've lost. We've been losing it for years. We've been siphoned of our energy to incorporate this spirit of the Bible into our everyday life. I mean, we hear in the Christian church every day about what you're supposed to do, what you're not supposed to do, what's lawful, what's not lawful, and then we see those laws get broken every day.
Right.
Like there hasn't been any change on their part, and again, no effort on their part. Slack, you got that? All right, come Bible shot.
Zephaniah chapter 2, verse 1. Gather yourselves together.
Gather yourselves together, guys.
Yeah. Gather together.
They say it twice. They're trying to reiterate. Slack, they're trying to reiterate this point. Slack, good.
O nation, not desire.
Everybody loves Arab nations. They got respect for the Arab nations, the Asian nations. Esau, so-called white man, our oppressors. They got love and respect for them.
Even the lowest Africans.
Even the lowest, the Somalis, the pirates.
Right.
They got respect for them, and they got some empathy for them when they see those movies about how downtrodden their nation is. What about St. Paul? What about the neighborhoods in Minneapolis that have been affected? When 35 West cut through a predominantly black neighborhood and destroyed homes, just so they can put a quick route from A to B, which I'm familiar with Milwaukee. This city's traffic seems to just waste gas no matter what they do. So they destroyed a whole black neighborhood that was predominantly black for like 50 plus years, for generations. You understand? That's like 3 generations going in. They destroyed that community to throw in some highway strip. And that's literally blocks away from where George Floyd got murdered. Just so happens in another predominantly black neighborhood where a brother gets murdered, despite the crimes that he has on his record that was brought later, those cops didn't know that background at that time when his knee was on his neck for almost 10 minutes. They didn't know that background information, and that is not enough to justify the murder of that brother. But now again, there are a lot of things that are branching up out of this. So the Bible says, gather together, O nation not desire. They have shown us consistently that they do not desire us, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, so-called niggas, spics, and savages. They destroy our communities in any environment that we have ever been in. In our instruction, if we hope to get this right in any semblance, gather together, O nation not desire. Now that's a baby step. At least bring our issues to the table. We might be Christian, you might be Catholic, you might be Muslim, you might be in the metaphysics and energy medicine. You might be in Egyptology. You might be in fan club. You might be in a Sunday school, book club, what have you. You might be in the I.S.U.P.K, the Commanding General GEN.YAHANNA. Lord allow you to find your way home. But you can be from any one of these tables. But at least gather yourselves together, O nation not desire. At least come to the table. At least try to have that sit down so we can see what's what. What needs to get corrected, what needs to get completely dismissed. Now, of course, this is our code of conduct. According to the law, statutes, commandments, this is how we will rebuild our kingdom, our nation.
That's right.
And this is how we're going to rebuild brotherhood too.
Right.
But it does start with gathering together again. If those Sadducees and Pharisees would have put their pride aside and put that pocket purse down and gathered with the nations that were, with their people that were downtrodden, again, they had the resources to get the job done. We got athletes and superstars and musicians out here that have got millions and billions of dollars combined, and business entrepreneurs. They got the money and the resources and the influence to fix the problems that we are facing every day in our ghettos in America, in our barrios, on the reservation. But now you also got to know one important thing. Let me get 1 Thessalonians 5:12 about the shop. It's, not everybody is gonna, how would I say it? Again, genuinely be down for the cause. Not everybody is gonna genuinely have your best interests at heart. Your Christian pastors, they smile in your face every day, and they take your money. Those churches are closed down.
Right.
They are standing on the corners, damn near begging for money themselves. They still want you to pay the tithes, but they say the law is done away with. The blood of Jesus. Hallelujah. But they want to feign like they had your best interest in heart, like they're actually going to do something for us, when we have the means to do it amongst each other. You see that? We see that in the school every day. Outsiders looking in, people wouldn't understand what this brotherhood is until you see it practiced. So outside of gathering yourselves together, whole nation not desired. And actually another one that we need to get with this is so they have zeal. Kind of. Yeah, so all right, so 1 Thessalonians 5:12.
Okay. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 verse 12. And we beseech you, brethren, to know them which labor among you.
Now there's a difference in between watching YouTube videos, responding to Facebook posts, and being in the school. Now, of course, this is an I.S.U.P.K school. We're just a different designation. We're in the Midwest. We're all over the East Coast. We're all over the West Coast. We're all over down South. We're all over the Midwest. We're all over in Europe now, too. Canada. Even South America, I believe you got some schools. So, I mean, we spread out all over, but it's one pot. There ain't no difference here. So, Slaki, if you could read that from the top again, because this is a very important lesson a lot of people need to know as far as being a spectator and being involved. Yes, Slaki, so that.
And we beseech you, brethren, to know them which labor among you.
Good.
And are over you in the Lord, and admonish you.
Now, a lot of people hate rank and order. There's two main reasons that people don't want to be involved in this organization, in this school. Because A, there's something they don't want to give up in the world. They still hold on to the drugs, to the customs. They don't want to let go. Maybe just one more Christmas, one more birthday party. Then maybe they'll come home. One more hot hand. This is the last blunt I'm going to smoke. This, that, and the third. We've made many excuses as a people to not want to follow suit, to not be known as being one that labor amongst you.
Right.
That are over you in the Lord. Now that's a lawful thing too. That again describes rank and order. It's we need discipline. We need this decency and order in this day and age. I don't know Native Indians that are running wild, that are living without any guidance from their mothers, from their fathers, from their older brothers, from their uncles, from their big homies on the block. There's nobody that's out there looking to teach them accountability, teach them responsibility, let alone teach them about the customs of our people, the law, statutes, and commandments that govern our moral compass. There's nobody out there that's on their team that's actually looking out for them. In this school, in this truth, in the I.S.U.P.K and the Command and GEN.YAHANNA, you've got how would I say, almost an extremely diligent body of brothers that will make sure you are towing that line, so that you can be one of them that labor amongst you, because they are going to be over you in the Lord, and they will admonish you. They're going to show you love in checkmate. We don't have that in this whole civil rights era movement. They're not really concerned about that. They want to bring attention to the forefront about how we're getting killed left and right by our oppressors. But nobody's going to hold themselves accountable either for the messages that they're producing that helps continuously lead our brothers and sisters down that track. Now, this ain't really got nothing to do with George Floyd's background or Eric Garner's or what's the other brother's name? Well, again, they put blame on him after they murdered him, and then right after that they brought forth his criminal record. Damn near all of them.
Yeah, I was gonna say all of them.
Pretty much all of them.
Because the same thing, Mike Brown, Freddie Gray.
Yeah, Mike Brown. That's what the brother I was thinking.
I want to say I don't think they pulled anything. Did they though?
Yeah.
Did? I wasn't too sure.
Breonna Taylor, she ain't even the one that was really guilty of anything. They was blaming that on her man, right?
They was trying to say that he shot at them, something like that.
Right.
I was thinking myself, I just made him hit. That goes on a lot.
Yeah.
The police, a lot of the times are hitting for drug dealers and stuff like that. You know, a lot of the times they be on the payroll and they do hits.
Right.
You know, just like anybody in the mob and all that. You know, they do that type of stuff. They figure somebody can go state. You know what I'm saying? Turn here, think about it. Now, look at the benefit of them having a cop do the job. Because the police ain't gonna get no time. He's not gonna have to, give up who paid him for the day. He's not gonna have to do all the same stuff that a normal dude out there that's a contractor would have to do.
Right.
So he would be the top choice. You know what I'm saying? They pay him enough money, you know what I'm saying, and he goes do the job.
And then they've got the resources and the political backing to wipe all that off the scene.
Right, exactly.
And they can turn that narrative into whatever the hell they want.
Right. So all the dope dealers have to do is provide them with, $250,000, whatever the case is, and a couple of trips, a couple of tickets to the Bahamas, the end of the bridge. You know what I'm saying? He gets to lay back in the Caribbean blue sea to get his mind back right. You know what I'm saying? After the murder, they hit him, Next thing you know, after that is business.
And then in the midst of that, again, like with George Floyd, Eric Garner, Mike Brown, Tamir Rice, Trayvon Martin, they brought, again, Zimmerman didn't know that Trayvon had any marks against him. I mean, he was, from the stories that I read, he was still an upstanding young man too in the community. Like, he ain't got no criminal record.
Right.
He wasn't out there, kidnapping nobody, putting hits on nobody, robbing stores.
Right.
But to desensitize us to the crimes that actually happened, they put forth that narrative of the lifestyles that we've been, again, suctioned into. And this is the other one, Romans 10:2. Because everybody, again, starting from your Christian churches, from your public school systems, from your Muslim mosques, the lifestyles that they allow are not what's ordained in the Bible.
Right.
They will go completely outside of those bounds of any allowance. Like in the Christian church, you can do whatever you want pretty much. The pastors do it anyway. You had that one story of the one pastor who was sleeping with one of his parishioners' wives. The parishioner came to the church. They was doing this in the church. The parishioner came to the church to confront them. The pastor pulled out a gun and killed that man.
That's right.
Yeah.
You remember the dude that was in the NFL, whose pastor was sleeping with his wife? And he went to confront him, and the pastor blew him away.
Yeah.
You remember that story a few years ago?
Yeah. That's the same one I'm talking about.
It wasn't a couple years ago, about 2 years ago.
And now the lives that we lead give them ammo for this desensitizing publicity and propaganda. So now, when they kill one of us, it's like that one.
I got a precept based on what you're saying.
Oh, Bob precept.
Yeah, you pretty much said some, that pretty much
Out on people using the police force,
right.
using public agents. We know that they are doing this, that they've been doing this. It's damn near public knowledge, not only with the conspiracy theories and books and movies and documentaries and whistleblowers that they've had out there for years. Looking at the nature of this beast, you know that they've done this. Now we know that our brother's gonna sell Lucy.
Right.
We know that we're gonna do stuff like this. We know that we're gonna sell a little bit of weed. We know that we're gonna sell a little bit of crack. We know this. In the lives that we've lived, this is what we've been trained up to do. We didn't start from coke fields. We didn't have the opium fields. We weren't the ones who sat there in the lab breaking down cocaine into crack, breaking down the opium, the poppy seeds into syringe usable heroin. That's not our nature, but that's what we've been left with to survive in this kingdom. So now, as we read, we should be gathering together, O nation not desire, so we can sit at the table and talk about these issues as so-called blacks, Hispanic, and Native Indian men, women, and children. Because this affects our table. This affects our household. Separate from how it affects theirs. They got their own issues to deal with too. No sweat. Let that be there. They want so much of our oppression. They want to say that we in this boat together. Internationally, they are getting killed off more by the COVID than we are per capita.
Right.
That should say a couple of things. Well, we're going to get into that in a second too. But again, as far as them desensitizing our people to the plight of the actual crimes that's being committed. Selling loose cigarettes was a crime, absolutely. It still goes on today. Eric Gardner's situation did not stop any of that. But then Eric Gardner and George Floyd's situation did not stop the cops either. Stop, got one?
Yeah, but here's the thing about it too. The thing about it, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, we have to have a solid sense of justice because, selling loosies is not carrying a death penalty.
Right.
Of course, the laws of God or the laws.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And, nobody can just come up and just murder you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Just because you sold some loose cigarettes.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? That's just not, because what it is they such an animal that they look for reasons. You know what I'm saying? You could be selling anything. He could have been selling anything. He could have been selling it no matter what. He could have been selling they were selling some type of little toys or little kids or something. You know what I'm saying? And they would have still, they could have still looked for that.
Yeah.
Because they just look for reasons, just to murder. Because that's who they are. That's why they say things like, well, black people are killing other black people. And what that's insinuating is black people are killing other black people.
Right.
Why not let us do it too? Who has a philosophy like that other than Cain? You know what I'm saying? That's Cain's philosophy right there. Well, if they're already fighting, why not argue to fuck everybody out? Makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense to a goddamn murder. You know what I'm saying?
And that's why we got to know them that labor amongst us. Our leaders in those Christian churches, in those Muslim mosques, and that city council, their how would I say, their philosophies, their aims for their political seat, it's not the same as ours. It's like that one.
Yeah, I got two precepts based on what y'all both just said. Ecclesiastes, chapter 12, verse 16. An enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagineth how to throw thee into a pit.
Who does that sound like? Who does that sound like? Any politician I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Any politician, any police commissioner Daniel that I've ever heard. Any city council person.
You know what? I mean, if I will, to get back on this whole thing with I.S.U.P.K. Anybody heard of
Yeah, that brother.
He made a post on Twitter. He's not on Twitter and shit. He made a post. Someone asked the same question you just asked, an exact quote. what happens to ISU, where is he at? And he posted a picture of himself, and the title said, I'm right here, still doing, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I mean? So nothing much has changed at all.
And you know what? It's just like we just breaking out with the politicians and all of that, right? Now, the brother I.S.U.P.K was going to petition Trump for $500 billion.
The platinum plan?
Right.
No.
He got to think though, because nobody gives something for nothing. What was I.S.U.P.K going to be given up to him?
Right.
As a payment for,
right.
You know what I'm saying? And nobody gives something for, nothing for nothing.
Especially
something for nothing.
Right.
Especially not them.
Right, exactly,
Kind of finish up for you?
Alright.
And it says, he will weep with his eyes, but if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood.
It's not enough for them.
Right.
They don't care if they get smeared all over the front page. What's black and white and red all over. They don't care about that. For some of these organizations within the political system, this is damn near an initiation form. And it's allowing them to let go of their frustrations and their own twisted makeup. They can do this with no inhibitions.
Right.
Without any concern in the world, knowing that they're going to go back home with severance. They're going to get suspended for murdering a man, for murdering a woman. And we ain't setting no type of leeway for this. We can't even sell a cigarette.
Right. Yeah.
Without getting murdered for that.
Right.
Now, we shouldn't be doing none of that anyway. That goes into part of what I was saying earlier about we need to, all right, so we need a better upbringing first off. We're not going to get that in this kingdom. We're not going to get that with Christianity. They're not going to teach us right. They've got a Bible in their church. That don't mean that they've got the law, statutes, and commandments, though. They're not following suit after the book that they stole from us. Mm-hmm. You give us control. You give us that opportunity to set this right, and you will see the difference. Mm-hmm. Gather together, O nation not divided.
That's right.
Know them that labor amongst you. Right. Vet them brothers and sisters that are around you to make sure that they are not going to be the next victim outside of a grocery store trying to sell Similac. Right. Or some candy, or there was that one little girl, and it's like, I know this was kind of some old news, but that one young sister who had an unlicensed lemonade stand because she was trying to raise money for a Disney trip.
I remember that. I was thinking about
that. We can't even do that.
Yeah.
We can't even do that.
Right.
What's the brother name? Amon Aubrey. That brother can't even go take a job in a pleasant looking neighborhood that I believe he lived in without getting hunted down. Mm-hmm. You just heard it's like sir, that one precept that you brought out with them like thirsting after blood.
Yeah, kind of. That's right. Yeah, kind of. It says right here. I read the time. Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 16. An enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagined how to throw thee into a pit. He will weep with his eyes, but if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood.
Those were some rednecks. They weren't even neighborhood watch. They weren't city councilmen. They didn't have a badge on them. Our brother was taking a job, trying to get some exercise. Right. And these oppressors, these sons of these devils, pursued him, murdered him, talked a good game about their excuse, about the shot.
That brings to the second precept. This is okay. As everybody should know, all the Psalms is not created or written by King David. That was just verified by the general captain, one of the captains. Because I was confused at one part of the book of Psalms, but I believe this right here is King David praying to the Most High. Psalm chapter 59, verse 3. For lo, they lie in wait for my soul. The mighty are gathered against me, not for my transgression, nor for my sin, O Lord. That's it.
And that's what we're going through. And even if that wasn't King David, that was at the very least, a brother that labored amongst him, that knew what was going on, that was relevant to the times, that could express it the same way, in that same spirit that we do, that's appropriate to get that message across. I don't care who you are, what you think about this word. This was written to, for, and by Hebrew Israelites.
Right.
To, for, and by so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. To, for, and by so-called niggas, sticks, and savages.
Right.
If you're the author of such an explicit text, an elaborate text as this, no matter how many metaphors you use, as the author, you meant it in one way. You're only going to get one meaning out of it. No matter the millions and billions of people around you that read the same text and get a completely different understanding about it. As the author, you wrote that for one specific way. And it just so happens that was for our people to understand in this day and age. When it was written in Hebrew, it was not written in the same context as the Old English that King James had a commission written under. Neither from the Greek to the English. Neither from the 16th century all the way up to the 21st century. It wasn't written, how would I say, it was written with the same message. It wasn't written with the same spirit of those times. In the Hebrew era, in the Greek days, like in Yahweh's time, let's just say that, and even before that, King David time, before that, how we would get down and write things out, King James commissioned the best scholars to do it with the exact same feeling, the same context, the same spirit.
Right.
And they did a good job with it.
Right.
So you kind of
and one thing that helped them out so much is the fact that they were descendants.
kind of yeah.
This shows passed down
Right.
in the spirit, you know. And just like with the I.S.U.P.K. that. Just like when you go to Revelation, remember when Christ said, I give you a key. You know what I'm saying? That key was given to the physical descendants, you know, but just not any physical descendants, the ones who the Most High chose to raise up this nation.
Right.
I was saying that key's not physical necessarily.
Right, no, it's not a physical key. That's what it is.
It's so poetic. It's a metaphor.
What it is actually that key, and it is actually more powerful than the key that we look at to lock, unlock a
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
The Bible.
Right, exactly. And what it is, that's the reason why we can understand Revelation.
Come.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Well, everybody's scared of Revelation. The Christian pastors are Hebrew.
Oh yeah.
You know, they're Hebrews. They travel Jewish travel all the time, right? But one thing they can't do, they don't have the key.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They don't have the key. That's why they can't unlock the mystery that's in Revelation. The key was given to our biblical. They passed it down to the three men after him. They were the components of the key after that. And then when he came to the seven heads that was going all the way down, you know what I'm saying? To everybody, that's the key. You know, like I was saying. And the key people, the King James, had to, you know, translate the Bible. What would they be called in the time of Christ? They would be called scribes. You know, they were the same kind of people, and men of good reputation. Also, they're honest men that were known for honesty and stuff like that. Men who know life was in them to translate this book. People would say what the hell they want to about King James or whatever case is, because everybody try to blast King James.
Right.
All the fake Israelites, you know, you know, even the ones that know that they Israel and everything, they try to blast King James. The Christians are even doing it now.
Right.
You know.
And if I could ask for a precept too, now that you bring that up, because that reminds me of so King James 1611, right? Right. Supposedly, by popular consensus, the transatlantic slave trade started in like 1592.
It was just in this kickoff,
right?
You know. Now think about
in the history books.
Right.
That's when they sing.
Right. And then they say 1619 was the time when things really started to pick up.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Right.
It was like a dope game, like cocaine down in South America. You know what I'm saying? when it first started out, it don't start out that big.
Right.
But then, when the demand increases, now you got to increase your amount of bodies.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Your amount of shipment. How you going to transport? How you going to keep them alive during the transportation? All of this stuff. They start to get better as things go. So now, by the time, the 1611 was translated in 1611, and the slave trade really started to pick up around 1619. It really started to pick up. So what was happening was, and this is the reason why King James was going with the Catholic Church too, because he was responsible for having the Bible translated from Latin into all the languages that we would be speaking.
And that's what I was going to touch on. That's what I was going to touch on.
The biggest beef with him, why they wanted him dead so much. They want to kill him and his son. And
they're bringing us to America. And then not only America, but then the different Latin countries. But then you also have on the what's the title? The Spanish King James version, Biblica.
Something like that.
Something like that. Salakia. Salakia Issachar, Salakia Ephraim, Salakia Zebulun, Salakia. But shout out to Pakinas too. That brother in Karangabar. Them brothers when they start reading that joint in Spanish, they be flying. Their English is a little chopped up. But when they start reading that joint in Spanish, they just be cutting through like crazy. And that's the exact translation is as close as you're gonna get to modern Spanish as they would have gotten from the Quaker English, so to speak.
Right.
But all that to say, they couldn't destroy these records.
Right.
They were going to exist no matter what. And I know a lot of people have a discrepancy with the Bible because of the slave trade. Oh, this is the only book that they gave you when you came out of the slave trade. This is the only book that they give you while you're in prison. We know that. The Lord put that book here for us.
Right.
There's a reason why we still got these records.
Right.
If you're getting to the school, at least grab a flyer, at least check out a class, shout us out online. If you're on Facebook, if you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, share these pages. It all takes is a click, maybe 2 clicks to share, 1 or 2. It's not that bad. And again, only 1 click to observe.
Right.
And you can check us out from the East Coast to the West Coast, from Canada to South America, all over Europe too now. You got brothers who labor amongst you, who have gathered together, who are laying their lives and their reputation down on the line to make sure that we spread this across the earth. And we got an organization under a powerful leader that keeps that spirit alive in us.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing I want to bring out too, considering again the times that we're living in, that a lot of people don't, again, there's a lot of things that people don't want to give up. And, by their own admission, they swear they might be doing a good job. And they might have a zeal to serve the Most High. But it's not in the same spirit that they were instructed to, that we would teach, that the Lord taught the Maccabees, that the Lord taught Daniel and Ezekiel and Isaiah, that the Lord taught King David and Solomon, that the Lord taught Yahweh, the records that our people bear. Nowadays, that has been lost to us. But there is a right way to get that back.
Right.
So, and if I may, I'll grab this one. Romans 10:2. For I bear them record that they have a zeal of God, but not according to knowledge.
That's right.
Colin Kaepernick did a great thing. In our day and age, what he did was so taboo in that sense. No entertainer, no athlete would have ever thought to turn their back on the standard of acknowledgement for the greatest nation on earth, to take a knee during the national anthem during a sports game that for generations they follow suit in that tradition of.
Right.
Because he was tired of seeing his people getting killed.
Right.
And what's wrong with that?
Right. Nothing at all.
Like, he got that spirit on him now, and he took a huge risk. I mean, he had money. He had a full career lined up for him. Retirement plan, all that. Not, doing this, he put that all in jeopardy. But he did it for the right reasons. Now, he's not in the school, but he's got that zeal, just not according to knowledge. If he really knew what was going on, he would be here with us. And, I mean, he's still breathing, so there's still time for the brother.
Right.
Commander Gen.YAHANNA is still teaching, so there's still time for the brother. GEN.YAHANNA, all the captains, all the officers, we still got troopers coming in every day.
Right.
We still got sisters getting named up every day. Our brothers, we got kids popping out left and right in this school. Barakatah Yahweh Yahweh Shai. I mean, that is a beautiful thing. Beautiful thing. And for the brother and the sister down there in Texas, Salaki Adawan Napad, I believe. Napad down there in Texas, and his rib, who took on that responsibility, and the whole school that took on that responsibility for that young brother. Shout out to Saints. Shalom, y'all boxing your shout out to them. Shout out to Saints. Yeah, Colin Kaepernick, like, those were powerful plays that he made. You got a lot of other entertainers, Nick Cannon, I.S.U.P.K. I mean, Mike Tyson spoke out the side of his neck a couple times too. Like,
yeah, the thing, like you saying, though, the scriptures you brought out there was zeal according to the will of the Lord, but not according to knowledge. Right. And people like that, a lot of times, you lead people further away from the truth and bring them back. Because it's like what Commander Gen.YAHANNA was talking about last night, on the grill, talking about Mike Tyson trying to black one. I do that too. Kind of times. Mike Tyson on there trying to bully Lil Boosie.
I do.
They were trying to bully him because he said he's pretty much insinuating he don't want his son to go to be gay. So Mike had come to find out Mike Tyson's daughter is the one that set up that whole interview. She's gay. And she had her daddy going to big dumb ape, to try and bully this, this dude and everything into accepting gay stuff with his style. What type of monster is this damn Mike Tyson? I don't know what to say. The hell with Mike Tyson. And I tried to have sympathy for that brother before, all the stuff he was going through and all that with rape stuff. I think it's just an animal just like his handlers.
And I'm glad you said it like that, so it's handling.
Right.
We've been getting handled as a people in this country for hundreds of years. Damn that 400-year prophecy nonsense. Get that out your head. We've been dealing with this for generations past that. We've got handlers that put us in that Christian church that will eventually turn our children into homosexuals. That will eventually turn our children into murderers. That will eventually turn our children into drug dealers. That don't allow them any fortification or moral compass. We're supposed to gather together that nation, not desire. Know the men that labor amongst you. Vet that spirit. And take that shit serious. Salaki.
For real. Anybody remember that movie? There's a movie that Mike Tyson played in years ago called Black and White. Anybody? I might want to watch that movie. He played himself in that movie. Okay, you had a bunch of like NBA players.
I know he played in Hangover, but nothing else.
This is when he still had this nigga spirit to him. What happened was, they, chilling out the party or whatever, and he's like partying, he's famous. He played himself in this movie. And then you had NBA players and all types of stuff like that. Well, the devil, they try to come on to him at that party. And Mike Tyson smacked all the fire in there. You know what I'm saying? He was, everybody had to pull him back. Now, that was the real Mike Tyson of that time. You know what I'm saying? But look what they did, how they broke him, though.
Yeah, they did. They did something.
It's called Black and White, rated R from 1999. It's an indie film. And I ain't gonna lie, indie films are nice. But it's indie film / drama.
That movie was there. That way I want to watch that. And he played himself in that.
And
dude, he played.
But that would too. And I can't even trip on the brother for his voice. And sometimes that happens. I don't know what kind of drug. If he did drugs, if he sounded like that after he hit puberty, if that's just the way it is.
I believe he has a severe stuttering problem.
Right.
Something else. Yeah. So it's all mental.
He's always had that.
Because I've heard.
Remember, he started in boxing career at 15.
He
was always. It's just who he is. Just, this is the way he talks.
Right.
And then the examples that they set afterwards, after being handled for so long after that.
Right.
Nick Cannon being handled the way he did after that.
Right.
The Black Lives Movement matter being handled the way that they are.
Right.
Which leads me into Proverbs chapter 3 and 31.
Mm-hmm.
Envy thou not the oppressor, and choose none of his ways.
Right. Yeah, right.
Like, we think this voting system is going to do something for us because it seemed like it worked back for them in Parliament. Back in Europe, it seemed like it did something good for them during the revolutionary times when they were, the North was voting and fighting against the South.
Right.
Like that actually did something for them.
Right.
And because it seemed like it in the history books, because now in the history books again, it's going to seem like we took a voyage, we took a cruise ship, we won some tickets on a raffle.
Right.
And we found this great opportunity. We were just waiting for it off the dock.
Right. We had a luxury.
Go,
the quick job.
Right. And guaranteed job. Guaranteed job placement.
Right.
Would have been no higher.
Right.
They didn't pay us for the travel hazard, though.
Right.
We didn't get no hazard pay for none of this. For being alligator bait. They didn't pay our babies any hazard pay for that. But they want to make us think that this law that they're famed to uphold, that this Constitution that they got in their back pocket is the solution to democracy and the republic and for the freedom and equality of all mankind. When while they put that ink to that page, we were enslaved, we were in cages, we were being used as alligator bait, man. Like, that part still blows my mind. How vicious and how heartless could you be? But again, we just read it back in Proverbs.
Yeah,
Was that? Yeah, kind of. Again, the words not being smoother than butter, but then
Psalm 2:5.
kind of Psalm.
21 through 23.
Them Grecians were and it's like I should say those Romans were the same way back in the Maccabees day, back in the time of David. Back when they were still trying to regain a foothold for that empire, and they used every dirty trick under the book. So now they got us thinking that by living this lifestyle, we'll be able to excel in this environment and raise a sustainable family after the fact that we've been destroyed.
Right.
Mike Tyson is not sober. Nick Cannon is not sober. I don't know about Colin Kaepernick. I don't know that brother. He seemed like a good brother.
Yeah, he seemed. But here's the thing, though. If you ain't at least moving towards I.S.U.P.K, you're gonna be crushed up under the pressure of the world. I mean, as they have the saying, the pathway to hell is paved with good intentions.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
No, I'll let you finish.
Yeah, that's what they're saying, because a lot of people, they have good intentions towards things, but then, it doesn't lead them anywhere. They get crushed by the pressure that the world brings in.
And if I may, before you jump in, and that goes into with them having that zeal, but not of knowledge.
Right.
And that ties into them having being envious of our oppressors.
Right.
So like
that's all I was going to say too. And there's a scripture that talks about how people are not. There are people who are drunk, but not with wine or strong drink.
Right.
Drunk as far as philosophy, doctrines, to just long story short, the world. And same thing that I remember when the whole thing. I like Kendrick Lamar. He's very dope. His music is very amazing. You know what I'm saying? Can't deny his talent. You know what I mean? But I remember that I think Israelites were going crazy over the fact that his cousin something Duckworth is an IUIC. You see what I'm saying? And that he was mentioning, Deuteronomy the 28th chapter in the song Fear. You see what I'm saying? And mentioned how he also to the song Yah being Yahweh, and saying that he's not black no more, he's an Israelite. Don't call me that no more. Mm. And I remember when Captain Cox, I was like, if niggas ain't saying the white man's the goddamn devil, I ain't trying to hear anything. See what I'm saying? That doesn't mean the niggas in the truth. See what I'm saying? Now, Colin Kaepernick did an amazing thing as a brother being in the world. I get that. You see what I'm saying? But the official step is bringing all that, whatever moved him to do what he did for his people that day, it should move him to be in here. Once again, this is a place where it has a solution.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? My thing is, I feel like we should not, niggas always say be 100, right? Y'all remember that whole phase? Right. I think that you should be 100% with yourself as well.
Damn,
you know what I'm saying? If you know some things is off, as you being in the Christian church or something like that, you should know, like, this ain't for me. Right. You see what I'm saying? This is not for me, this is not 100%. Children are, losing their innocence. People are being hurt and harmed in these different ways. This ain't the place for me. Right. So if you know that, find a place that is solid. Right. You know what I mean? You got enough jobs who say that, there's always a little bit of something that's off. It should not be like that. That's probably what you're used to, but it should not be like that.
Right.
That's why, but we do know that situations and problems do come up, but we know how to handle them. See what I'm saying? Because we are men of God.
Damn right.
You see what I'm saying? You know what I mean? We might bump into somebody. Goddamn, it's an accident, but that accident can turn into a whole physical altercation. We can fix it though. But if you know that your oppressor is corrupt, you see what I'm saying? You need to be underneath somebody that knows how to deal with this oppressor, so you don't end up in their devices.
Right.
Like that's the word that the Bible uses.
Right.
You go ahead.
And this is a funny thing too, because I think when people make moves like that, and then after a while, they start thinking, damn, well, maybe I didn't do exactly the right thing.
Right.
Or, and then
now they want to say
yes. Now they want to apologize.
Right.
They can.
Right. And then they want to do what the black community will, use, the coons among us, use their image still to represent something black, even though all the spirit has been taken out of them for what they started out doing in the first place. Mm-hmm. It's one thing to run, you got to finish the race.
Damn right.
You know what I'm saying? Right. You can't just run a couple of meters and all of that. And be like, I'm going to sit back here with Gatorade.
Right.
The job is done. I got to cross that goddamn finish line.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Cross the fucking line.
And like GEN.YAHANNA said, we don't stop until the bell rings.
Right.
So don't let it be very clear. If you're going to sign up for the holy ranks at I.S.U.P.K and commanding GEN.YAHANNA under Yahweh sign of the Most High, you're going to work.
Right.
They're saying we ain't sitting on the bench. We're in the game. Right. Like we in this. Not only when we're holding camps on the streets, when we're holding food drives, when we're holding clothing drives, when we're in classes, when we're holding classes. I mean, people think that we're just, again, we're not a Bible club. This is not Sunday school. This is not an improv theater. This is the I.S.U.P.K, that little sanctuary. Them temples that were destroyed rocked like this back in David's time. Mm-hmm. Ezekiel, Nehemiah, Ezra's, them brothers were out there on the pulpits of wood, putting their lives on the line. Yahweh Slack, you got one?
No, Slack, you said little sanctuary?
Kind of one.
I won't say little sanctuary.
I mean, it ain't little no more, but
I was definitely we are a sanctuary.
But just one Bible with the scripture.
We got to look at it and see it through the eyes of the Most High, because right now we're not together as a super powerful nation. Yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
We would be the little sanctuary. When we start becoming the big sanctuary, it's when people in the world have no choice but to come to us.
We would have those mega churches.
Right.
Right now, like in the Twin City area, we've got this humble building with these humble brothers and sisters.
Right.
Amongst a couple of 100,000 surrounding us.
Right. Of all different ideologies, all of this stuff, but we are the little things, because most I like use little things.
Yeah, because like for example, we said out of all people I chose y'all, but we were not few. I mean,
because you're not the greatest, but
yeah, out of all people though, like that's very inspirational.
That is.
You know what I'm saying? And that says a lot.
Right.
It does.
If the most powerful, then his glory will shine.
Right.
Because everybody knows what they say. It'll be like, well, see, they're that way, because see, look how powerful they were at first. Like, the Most High would use the Jewish man.
Right.
It would seem to make sense to any common person, right? Oh, they control the banks.
Oh.
They control this. They set the monopoly on every damn thing you can think of. So, so what would everybody be looking at? Everybody would look at them as God. But if you take some niggas in the damn ghetto and back alleys of Chicago, damn New York and everything, the people that would be going to jail and getting murdered and all that, you take that people, the whole world will have no choice but to take them.
That's different.
Yeah, something is behind them. Even if they go there, even if they don't know, they be a vain person, don't believe in God their whole life, but they gotta think something is behind them. Yeah. And I want to know who he is. You know what I'm saying?
Whose God is so close to him.
Right.
That's a lot of that. That's all of us.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We are products. From like now, of course, our lives have changed. See what I'm saying? We ain't who we used to be.
Right.
Now we have a new identity, the real original identity of, you see what I'm saying, carrying the spirit of the Lord versus carrying the spirit of, Satan or our oppressor being in the world. You know what I'm saying? It's funny because I hear a lot of people's backgrounds as far as how they came to school and how their lives was in the world. I'm not even phased. I'm just like, shit, anybody can be how you was in the world.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
I tell people all the time, like, I came in at a very young age. Yeah, yes, I wasn't, I don't have a record or anything like that, or, I wasn't.
And it's like, if I may, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. And nothing wrong with not having grown up being a criminal, having dealt with that lifestyle. Ain't nothing wrong with that. You ain't got nothing to prove.
Exactly. I didn't get myself entangled in a lot of things. I remember, I tell people all the time, I remember just watching, being very observant of my family.
Right.
And, I used to write, at a young age and telling myself, like, I can't be like them. I have to find a way out. And the Lord found me.
Damn right.
And he found me and I changed my life around. But it's like, I was still at an age where I was responsible for my actions. Meaning if I did something that was out of order or could consider to be a sin, I could still get punished for it. Because as we see 12-year-olds, 13 and up, still being, paid a cost. You see what I'm saying? So it's just like, like anybody can, change their life.
Right.
And we are living examples of that.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Anybody can change their life, and at any age, anybody can get it. Like one of the street documentaries and everything.
Mm-hmm.
People that was pushing. You had the dope dealers and stuff in the 80s, and then you had the hitman and stuff like that. One little dude, he started doing hits at like 10.
Exactly.
He was like 9 or something like that. He was one of the little dudes that grew up real fast and everything. And he was 11, he ended up getting licked the hell up. So there's no, what I'm saying, a lot of people think since they're young, that nothing can come back on them. And that is garbage, what I'm saying. He was a talented little dude. This little dude was getting like a mechanic. At that little young age, he knew how to work on cars and all of that type of stuff. He was a real gifted, talented dude. And he loved in the streets like that. And he was doing, he had killed a few people, by the time he turned 11.
And you know, Salak, if I may, this is also how you know that, this this is how you know that carnality shall always be killed, right? Christ was what age when he was so-called teacher, I would say? He was 12 years old.
Right.
See what I'm saying? 12 years old. And he had never sinned as being Yahweh.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And he is living proof, just like many others are living proof, Captain Ariah. You see what I'm saying? All of these, just many examples like that kills the carnality. It's not about who you was in your past life, it's about who you are now. Right. Who gives a damn who you was back in your past life? Because once again, that old man, that old woman should be what? Dead or killed. See what I'm saying? That motherfucker got to be 6 feet under. And keep him there. See what I'm saying?
Right.
Keep him there. And that kills all of that once again.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And I like to emphasize on that because that's very, very important. Because people in the world look for that.
Right.
They look for that old person. You changed, you different. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, I ain't trying to be the same nigga that I was last year. I would hope that I'm different.
Right, grow, yeah.
Growth, you see what I'm saying? Not growing in my wickedness, but growing in righteousness.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So, I just want to say that real quick. Salaki.
No, I mean, hey, Bob Bashar, so like, you were saying it on the head. I don't want to stop you. But again, like all that ties into the generational miseducation of our people.
Right.
And bringing up some of the older names. So like, if you go from, I guess it's still in more recent times, Martin Luther King's and your Malcolm X's and your Marcus Garvey's, Rosa Parks, incidences and people that were outlined as black revolutionary leaders that were, pinnacle or the pinnacle of what their movement should have been conceptually at the time.
Right.
They still had a zeal, but not according to knowledge.
Right.
They were still envying their oppressors because in the words you might. I mean, and that didn't change from the 50s and 60s to now. I mean, that's good. Now that's 70 years already.
Right.
To now, when we have these prominent so-called black leaders who are still succumbing to the same lies, to the same obedience, to that same handling.
Right.
They're still envying their oppressors. We're still not gathering together in that Christian church, in that Muslim mosque.
Right.
At least over here, like we can take you up out of it.
Right.
We can show you, and again, everybody can profess they got the truth. Test that spirit. No sweat. That's why we got classes. That's why the phone lines are open 24/7.
Right.
No matter where you are.
Right.
If I don't pick up the phone, he gonna pick up the phone. If you don't pick up the phone, he gonna pick up the phone. If you don't pick up the phone, I'm gonna pick up the phone. You're not alone in this. And again, it might be described as a little sanctuary in the scriptures, because again, we're the few amongst the many.
Right.
But it's a safe place that you can actually call home.
Right.
That if you wanted to change, this is the environment that you get to do that in, unabridged. But there is slack. There's just some rules you gotta follow.
Right.
You can't just stop smoking crack to continue smoking cigarettes. You can't just stop being a molester to being an alcoholic. You can't trade one for the other. This isn't a get out of jail free card.
Right.
This is a chance for you, for like Adawan said, to kill that old man and come back anew. Which is why I don't get mad about people subsequently, and this may be callous a lot, people dying, because I know that we will come back. Right. And Lord allow, we'll get reborn into an earth where we're not going to have to hear about, oh shit, there's an Amber Alert? Like we'll never see that stuff again. Somebody got beat to death on the corner. the daycare that I drop my kids off to. We ain't gonna hear about that stuff no more because the world. Actually, let's get into this. Let's get into this. Proverbs chapter 29, verse 2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. Just a question for Facebook and YouTube. Look around you. Does it seem like at large the people are rejoicing? And I'm not talking about any races. Well, let's take race and culture off the table.
Right.
Does the world seem like a happy place to you overall? I don't see it.
I don't either.
I don't see it.
Yeah, I don't see it either.
Remember the scripture when it said they tell lies at one table?
The time will come.
Remember that scripture right there? That's what they do.
Right.
They lie at one table. You can't have happy kingdoms if you got that going on. Back in times past, all kings had to keep whatever they decreed, it had to be done. That's
Right.
the reason why.
Right.
You know, they had to throw Daniel in the lions, even though that wasn't what the king wanted. You know, they tricked the king into that.
Right.
But when she decreed the thing, it had to go forth.
John the Baptist's head.
Yeah.
Down
It
come.
had to go forth. And these, you know, and Herod was an evil king.
Right.
And he did not want to kill John the Baptist. He actually liked John the Baptist.
Right.
But the decree came forward and he had to do it. He had to have it done. You know, but when they talk about they tell lies at one table, now people was standing down on what they say they're going to do. The UN don't know what the hell to do with each other because they can't trust each other. And that's what happens when you have Edom ruling kingdoms.
Damn right. Because when the wicked bears rule, the people mourn.
Right.
That's all I see out here, and I don't
You
care
can't trust them.
anywhere, everywhere.
Right. How about that second stimulus check?
Yeah, whatever. I got child support. I ain't gonna get that. I ain't gonna get that.
But did they go forth out of their mouth like they was gonna make it happen,
Right?
right?
Sure thing.
But then what they they pulled back on it.
Once we bit, yeah.
Right, exactly. You know,
And then it's that didn't exactly stabilize the economy.
no. But the decree came forth out of their mouth, though.
And that gift destroyed their hearts.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, the Proverbs chapter 29 verse 2, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn.
Right.
In America, let's take America and Europe into consideration for a second here. The two, or at least two of the wealthiest, most prominent bodies of, I don't want to call them a country. I don't want to call them, kingdoms, I guess, because they got their rulership. They're sitting on that throne. But two of the most prominent Edomite kingdoms that they have established on earth, America and Europe. The homelessness, the drug epidemics, their own crime waves that are going forward.
Right.
Right.
That's amongst their own people internationally at crazy rates. And when you think of the crimes that are being done too, listen, I wanna be clear about this. Listen, nature to go butchering each other left and right. We went to the street from each other. Now you got completely dived. We are getting influenced by a kingdom that is sick in the damn head.
Right.
If you look at all your serial killers, there's some weirdo Edomites.
Right.
We don't do that. We don't do Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Right.
We don't do cannibalism.
Right.
We're not General Buck Naked out there. I don't know if he was in Ghana, Uganda. You gotta die. Like, leave that alone. That's not us. Stop clinging to Christianity. Stop clinging to America. Stop clinging to what they propose to you as your African roots. That's not us. In our law, statutes, commandments, we have a clear-cut order of decency. a moral compass that we can trust in. Now, I would argue that you can see that today in the labor that in the men that we labor amongst, because of the dedication and the years that they put into this. Like you got winning streaks upon winning streaks upon winning streaks, with the food giveaways, with the clothing drives, with the GED programs, with the prison programs. Anytime the FBI or the courts try to step in and press charges, we came out on top. Right. Because we followed that moral compass and we didn't do anything wrong, even according to the laws of the land. Just right. Because the people didn't like it, we were still innocent. But again, this is what happens when the wicked slack it. When the wicked bears rule, the people are going to mourn. And that's all across the board. Their own people are mourning. You got to be almost dumb as rocks if you living in America, if you so-called Edomite, you living in America or Europe and you still homeless. This is your kingdom. Chances are you got an aunt or an uncle or a cousin or somebody out there that you can make do with. Right. Shouldn't none of y'all be complaining about the problems that you're going through? It's like that one.
God, I just want to give you a precept, or just give a precept based on what you're saying. It's very much on point with the key word being wicked, right? This is Job chapter 9, verse 24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked.
Damn right.
He covered the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he?
Where is that moral compass? They claim they got it in the Christian church. But what have they produced out of that? I mean, child abuse, molestation, and rape, and incest, and adultery, and thievery, and usury, and murder, and idolatry. That I think in the Christian church, they already broke all the 10 commandments, the ones that they are at least supposed to try to stand by. But they don't push none of that except the tithes. I mean, of course, everybody wants some money. Now, tithes are a commandment. Don't get that twisted either. Tithes are a commandment. You should be kicking that up to the school. But you're going to see the difference legitimately. You can damn near track it down to see what our efforts put in towards our people. Ask the Eastern Seaboard from 1969, or I don't want to say mainly in the 80s, but you can see the impact that our school has made on the communities in their local neighborhoods. When we were small back then, because back then it was mainly on the East Coast. It was mainly in just a couple cities, really. I think it was just mainly like Philly and New York. Look at Chicago. Look at the Midwest. Look at Texas. Look at down south. Look at Cali. Look at the West Coast. Look at the Northern Hemisphere. Look at North America. Look up in Canada. Look in South America. Look at the Eastern Hemisphere. Europe. I mean, they are, the dollars count for the right reasons. The resources that we need are not the resources that are publicized. We don't need all those deals at Walmart. We don't need all those deals. I mean, you got a Walgreens on damn near every corner in every neighborhood you go to. That isn't the kind of help that we need. All your Salvation Armies, all your that. You can't tell me they can't flip that as Blacks, Hispanics, and Asians. Ain't we some hustlers anyway?
Come on.
Like we can't use that system against itself to benefit us legally. Yeah. Keeping all tax laws, paying all of our taxes, doing all of our audits, paying all of our insurances, covering all of the health benefits of our people, providing solid jobs for our people. That's brotherhood. Black-owned businesses, Hispanic-owned businesses, Native Indian businesses. Skill sets that we have in our own community, but we're not gathering together. We're still envying our oppressors. And we're still fearful of our oppressors, which I don't fault the public for. So like, if I may, I don't fault the public for, because this has been going on. I mean, if we want to get critical about it, 4,000 years. I mean, It's high time for the people of Israel to wake up. Slack that one.
Just like, and then also too, we got to look at even a lot of our practices inside these black businesses.
There we go.
We got to look at a lot of our practices even inside that.
And then the principle, if I could just add on to that, the principle, are we dealing in righteousness and brotherhood?
Right.
Or are we dealing in just survival? Right. Are we applying usury to our people? Or are we actually looking out for the fact that you got a family, I got one daughter. You got a wife, you got kids. Multiple. I got one kid. I'm not going to try to take the excess for me and mine when we would be sustained under something smaller when you got more mouths to feed. And we could be doing the same thing. And, give every man his wage, but in the spirit of brotherhood, especially in times like this, to fix the problems and the cracks in our communities. People don't take that into consideration. So I was gonna kind of ask, would you qualify that as just that mentality of survival versus brotherhood?
Yes, that's exactly what it is. And that's a lot of black businesses go into black business with that survival mentality. Especially when you hear people say things like, there's only two classes of people. There really ain't no race.
Right.
There's only two races, and that's rich and that's poor. Yeah. They start to say things like that. You know what I'm saying? When people start to get a little bit of success, or whatever, they start to say stuff like that and show you where their head is at. So, right. In crunch time, their mind is going to be on survival. Right. That's it. They're going to be reduced right back to that, not thrival, but survival. Now the versus brotherhood understands that your business is about your race. Right. Everybody else seems to understand.
Everybody else.
Yeah. That's why they hired their own. Black people working in the damn Chinese restaurants.
At all.
There's a reason for that. They're going to hire their own. They own can come to this country with absolutely nothing, without a penny in their pocket, tore up clothes, or whatever the case is. They're going to bring him in, clean him up, get him some nice stuff to wear, place to live, and he'll be back there flipping and cooking the rice. Yep. And then before long, after a few years of doing this, next thing you know, he gets they'll help him apply for a grant, and they say, he can have his own Chinese restaurant and give you his rags to riches, racks to riches, his racks to riches, story of how he came up in America.
Right. And then all them Ishmaelite corner stores in the United States that operate the same way. 7 years tax free. Right. And then they immediately sign that over with one of their relatives. Another 7 years tax free.
Right.
And back to back.
Right.
Not in the Arab neighborhood though. Well, where do we normally see them?
Right. Where are we at?
Where are we at?
We don't even know where they live. They drive off and disappear. They drive up the rock and they gone. They vanish like the damn, David Copperfield or some damn body.
Let us get one of our shops in one of their neighborhoods and see what happens.
Right.
We ain't getting no business. Either that, we're just not going to get any business.
Right.
They will go all the way across town to deal with their cousin before they come and deal with us.
In reality, they will burn ourselves down. That's what really happened for real. They will be so enraged. They just couldn't just let it stand there like that, even though there ain't no business there. They just couldn't let it stand there. It's such an eyesore for them. How can these niggas would even have the audacity to even try to put a restaurant and to do the same thing to us as what we do to them? Right. How would they even have the audacity to do this? And they will burn their damn place down.
And then they do that to each other. Right. And that's okay. That's acceptable in their own communities, just as long as they're the ones doing it to each other.
Right.
But God forbid, one of us, gain little problems. And again, those are the signs of the times that we're living in. Right. And I think something else that ties close to that kind of shows how much farther we keep on pushing into the end of this. When the righteous rule, the world rejoices. When the wicked bear rule, the world it's like how's it go? The world for evil time, it's gonna happen. It has to happen. Otherwise, everything's gonna go complete. Everything is gonna just be extinct.
Right. That is His purpose on the earth. church.
It kind of
And actually, in reality, what it all boils down to, he really, the white man provides no real service to the other.
at all. Again, survival.
Yeah.
They offer you survival.
Yeah, in order for him to survive,
Exactly.
he has to eat everybody else up.
Exactly.
And then he has to turn, you know what I'm saying, his teeth up on his own self.
And then they put us in survival mode so that we don't know what brotherhood feels like.
Right.
Like, listen, there's a lot of us out there that are hurt, that have been through very similar situations, that may have harmed one another. You might meet another brother in the school that you had a personal beef with some time ago. But you're going to learn how to heal that.
Right.
Through brotherhood, not just through survival. Now, we will survive because of brotherhood. That's, I mean, it's different. You ain't gonna see this anywhere else. It's enforced here. And how would I say it? We don't. I don't want you laying out a whip on our back to enforce brotherhood on us. Right. We understand it for what it is and the necessity that it plays in our communities. I've seen this work. Again, y'all don't got to take my word for this. I've seen it personally affect people's lives. You just have to see it for yourself. And that burden part is on you. You can watch YouTube all day. You can watch Facebook videos all day. Any means, any gifts that you could think of, Lord. Unless you are in the school, and I'm not just talking watching videos, watching classes, commenting in the message board. Unless you are in the school, paying your tithe, you got your name changed. If you're looking to be a trooper, rocking your all black. If you're looking to be a sister, get your name changed. Wrap that head up. At the very least, when you come to class, throw on some modest garments when you come into the class. I mean, act appropriate. Same thing for the brothers is the same thing for the sisters. There's no hedge cut around the other. Just we are the authoritative figure according to the Bible and according to her. Ain't no equality on her. That's a different subject for another class. But this is still based off brotherhood versus survival. There's a lot of experienced entrepreneurs, businessmen, athletes, entertainers out there that got money that are just surviving. You got a lot of people that are going off grid. They've got their own little bunkers, and they've got a stockpile of food and water and medications, first aid kits. No sweat. They just survived. They left everybody in the backyard. They didn't take nobody with them, except maybe their grandma, who was going to bring that Jesus piece with them. He knows who's going to take that cross with him. And you're not going to be left any better than the brother that's sleeping in the back alley. Understand because of the life that we've led here, what we've been exposed to. And it's, quite frankly, it's not fair because, again, they got hundreds of years of a head start on us. And they took complete advantage of our kindness. We brought them here. We helped them survive. And we abandoned our own brothers for their efforts. When are we going to abandon our own personal efforts for our brotherhood? To achieve our goals, huge pride. Because in that survival mode, they're not going to take a moral compass with them. They're going to leave us dead in the streets. Because throughout all this, throughout all this Black Lives Matter, so-called civil rights resurgence, we're still killing each other out. We getting murdered by them left and right. We already know that we're getting killed by our oppressors every day in America. Not just in Minneapolis, not just in St. Paul, not just in Milwaukee, not just in Chicago, not just in the Midwest, not just down south, not just on the east or on the west. We know that as a Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian community, we are going to get murdered. We are going to get wrongfully persecuted for crimes that we did not commit. You got sisters getting raped in intake. You have brothers that are bleeding internally and dying of suffocation in the back of a squad car. And then we're still doing this to ourselves. But everybody wants to talk unity. Everybody wants to talk, why can't we put our differences down? That's a damn good question. But it's going to take work. A Black Lives Matter movement, everybody coming together and marching and protesting, trying to shut cities down, burning stores in your own neighborhood is not going to be the solution. Because at the end of that, in Revelation, chapter 11, verse 8, and this describes us to this day, after every negative effect of every so-called positive action we think that we've taken, every positive step forward that we think that we've taken in survival mode has not resulted in brotherhood mode. Right. Revelation chapter 11, verse 8. No slide. Oh, sorry, y'all. You got that?
Revelation 11 and 8.
Count one time. Because again, we're still not gathering together. We're still in survival mode because we want to end rule. Like to look out all the things that go along with that. I don't want to get too graphic with it, but ain't everybody going to be here to see it. But you should have mourned over that anyway, because once their eyes close at another point in time, they're going to wake up. Like, I don't want to.
Revelation chapter 11, verse 8.
This is where we are. This is where we're leaving ourselves. Every time we abandon the brotherhood and we go to survival. Bible stuff.
And the dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified.
If that don't sound familiar to you, I don't know what neighborhood you have the luxury to stay in.
Right.
Because I don't see that in Minnesota anyway. I don't see that in Wisconsin. I don't see that in Illinois, where this is not taking place. We've got an enemy that's already hunting our steps, that's already lying to our faces, giving us this feel-good moment just to try to bury us and leave our dead bodies in the street. And then we do that to ourselves over drugs, over a woman, or lust, in consideration for another brother. Maybe they got a car or something that I never had. I mean, most of my life I had a bus pass. I kept on trying to trade brothers, for that pink slip for my bus pass. Nobody wanted it, but I never robbed them for it. We just kicking it, making jokes, because how would I say this too? In the school, we know how to not let that be the focus. If that's kind of the right way to put it, we understand the direction that this spirit needs to travel on in order to make the impact necessary to make a difference in our communities. Not everybody's gonna like it. You're not gonna like losing your Christian church. Vato Locos, you're not gonna like losing your Catholic church. For the brothers and sisters on the res, you're not gonna like losing your Mother Nature and those practices. There's going to be a lot of things that a lot of people are going to have to give up in the spirit of brotherhood to survive. Because if you're just trying to live to survive, you don't know what brotherhood means. There's a lot more at stake than just you and me. And we're not at the end of it. We're still seeing the signs of the times. Right. And we've seen the importance day after day on where this moral compass needs to come from, first off. But the one that we've been situated with, where's that leading us? Because we still going to jail. We still getting murdered. Right. No matter how good they think that they're doing, they might be 100% legit innocent. Good, nice high school student, 4.0 GPA, never stole, a piece of candy from a shop, nothing. But because of the environment that we live in, it's still okay for them to die. Not only because of the color of their skin, but deep down because of their heritage. Arabs got melanin too, they ain't getting murdered. And America's been at war with Arabs for a long time. Right? It's like the other one.
Kevin says it's not a black and white thing. It's a Jacob and Esau
The
thing.
kind out of one kind. Damn right. Damn right. And it really is. And people don't realize that until they realize who Jacob and Esau are. And you're not going to get that until you see the historical breakdown in the Bible. You compare this up with anthropology. You compare this up with historical documents that have observed countless cultures and dug up our artifacts. It just so happens that, they didn't destroy every last artifact. We've got remnants of them still alive today. And you've got a brotherhood and real life. I look out these doors, I don't see the prophecies fulfilled yet. So until then, in the spirit of brotherhood, we're going to keep these laws to survive. To keep our children surviving. To keep their children surviving. Because it ain't got to be me necessarily that got to make it to the kingdom. As long as maybe there's a spot for my daughter. Maybe there's a spot for her children. And, Lord allows us to make the right choice and come into this school too. But there's a lot of misnomers about the Bible. There's a lot of fake guarantees and promises about the culture that we live in and experiencing here in America. And again, coming from the Christian church, exuding from YouTube. I mean, you go on YouTube and Facebook, and I don't know some of the other different social media platforms that got Instagram and Twitter. I mean, you got 1 billion or 10 billion times 10 billion different channels and outlooks of life that you can attune yourself into if you want. No sweat. You wanna? I remember this one family used to have parties. Just basically getting drunk, howling at the moon during like the winter solstice or something like that. When the moon's supposed to be the closest in its days. Because they read that in some book from some time ago that somebody else probably wrote, from somebody that they probably read a book from somebody that they probably heard a story from somebody that probably never knew shit about.
And they watched American Werewolf.
Right. I feel like a furry. I think that's kind.
Yeah, but they get, enticed on that werewolf vampire type thing, and they think the moon is going to bring them some type of energy during that time.
And just like the blood moon.
Yeah.
Just like the eclipses.
Yeah.
I mean, so the eclipse as far as Samhain, Halloween.
Got all the time. And then look how many holidays that they got based around all these pagan traditions. We know that these are pagan traditions. We know Halloween is BS. We know Thanksgiving is in culmination is them winning over us and them celebrating their victory over the lies that they got away with, over the treaties that they broke, over the dead bodies that they established their kingdom off. We know that these are the roots. We know that Christmas is not. I can show you the customs of Christmas in the Bible, but Christmas is nowhere in the Bible. But I can show you the customs of it. We can say that for another one. You got questions on YouTube or Facebook, tune in with us throughout the next week. Ask that question. We'll bring that out for you. We can show you the customs of birthdays and New Year's and how the Most High does not smell and they solemn assemblies. On their feast days, that is not counted to. But again, everybody's coming together feeling grand and jolly. Feeling.
Yeah. That's what that's about feeling. How to make them feel. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of people celebrate. It gets to make them feel so
right. And then once they take that Christmas tree down, we're back to feeling oppressed. Right. We're back to feeling suicidal.
Right.
On the reservations, the suicide rate out there, I mean, if you really looked at it, it makes you want to cry. Like, it's a horrible statistic to see amongst a population that's been beaten down into next to nothing by people that don't, because we got a casino with an all-you-can-eat crab buffet. Like, that's what we get for helping you survive and build a damn kingdom.
And that casino is not even ours.
It's not. At the end of the day, it's not ours.
It's theirs. They the ones that get all.
Remember
the movie Casino?
Oh yeah, all the movies.
Yeah. Casino King. None of that. You know, hit dude, and and that's just started a whole lot of trouble. These are devils with jade necklaces and stuff on, trying to pass themselves off with gas, but they were straight up devils. They were the ones who were controlling the gaming board and stuff like that. That's really the one.
And that's certainly no surprise that they would try to mimic our art with the cowboy hats.
Right.
We're trying to mimic our style, our flavor, our traditions and customs in the so-called New World before they came over and discovered it and raped it and pillaged it. We're trying to recreate their version of what America was founded on. That's the right way to put it.
He said trying to recreate what America was founded on.
Well, what they thought, like, again, so when Christopher Columbus came here, said, these are the most peaceful people I've ever seen. But also, we got to put them to work.
Yeah, we got to murder them.
That's in Black Indians and Lost Tribes.
And they saw all this wealth and prosperity and peaceful living. Now, not to say that historically we didn't have, maybe some beefs among some of the little tribes. The same things that we're going through now. I don't think we was dealing with it back then in the same way, but I wasn't around, so I ain't gonna talk to teach about that. But America's, how would I say it? White America's version of America is not what America was. The commerce that they hold nowadays is not honest. There's nothing truthful about anything that comes out their mouth. We got laws against usury, though. I actually got one of those too. And again, this is in the spirit of brotherhood versus just survival. Because, dogs can survive. I remember living on the south side of Milwaukee, and they've seen the same dogs and cats for years. They can survive out there.
It's crazy because when they get shots and shit like that, they sick as hell for some reason.
Right,
True.
Like alley cats, I've seen them motherfuckers since I was a kid.
I've seen their kids, I've seen their grandkids.
I done seen a whole cat tribe, matter of fact. Before I came to Indianapolis, I stayed in the neighborhood, right? It was on the dead end street. And all the cats had only two colors. All the cats, they were solid black or they were gray tiger stripe. They were all family. It was like a whole bunch of black cats. You know what I'm saying? When she had her little kittens, guess what they came out? One black, one tiger stripe.
All that.
It was surviving though. You know what I'm saying? Thriving.
Yeah, they were surviving. They were surviving. And again, something that we do, we try to hustle each other. We ain't even got to hustle our oppressors. We got a law that tells us flat out that we can deal with these honestly. Deuteronomy chapter 23. If I got a couple dollars, my brother needs some money. All right, I got $50. You need a 50 spot. All right, no sweat. Just pay me back 50. I don't care if it takes 1 month. I don't care if it takes 2 months. I don't care if it takes 6. You borrow 50, you're my brother, you're my people. You only give me 50 back.
Right. Oh man. Well, I remember, the time where like I was little and everything. It would be like Lone Star type OG dudes that ran like juice joints and stuff like that. You know, they would be, like loan sharks and everything, charging all type of interest on brothers. That's an old thing that we've been doing that we shouldn't know we've been doing. You know, we can put usury up on the string.
On the string, verse 20.
Yeah, right.
Kind of
yeah, we can put usury up on the string.
Yeah, so like, if I got a power tool or something that you need to borrow, all right, no sweat. You use the power tool, but return the power tool in the same condition. Now, if something breaks on your end, or if you misused it, now there's different according laws that would apply that you replace things like that. But then verse 20, like Adam was saying, unto a stranger thou mayest lend upon usury, but unto thy brother thou shalt not lend upon usury, that the Lord thy God may bless thee in all that thou settest thy hand to, in the land whither thou goest to possess it. And that's something that's a very powerful point in brotherhood that we have lost. Even the message behind it. To treat each other in a certain way. To love thy neighbor. Again, the Christian churches can try to beat that down your throat left and right. Come to the I.S.U.P.K. Learn what the truth really is about this Bible, about our customs, about our laws, statutes, commandments, about our traditions, about our history. You can find out the proper way through brothers that you will find out that you're going to know that labor amongst you. They're not just here to kick it. They're actually putting in work on your behalf too. So with that, that is my time. We're going to close this part down. This is I.S.U.P.K. Minneapolis. Pay your tithes. Like, subscribe. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. Get in the class. Check it out. ISUPK.com. Give it a shot. This is spiritual yourself. And we're going to be here every day of the week throughout the nation. If you got any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to call the number on the screen. We will pick up. We will get back to you. And you can see us in person. So we got the school right here in St. Paul. So with this, we're going to get to prayers.
Yeah, doesn't matter. I want to say announcements.
Announcements first.
Yeah.
Me.
That's like you can do no matter who you're looking at. Whoever's here should be in here. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Okay, no sweat. I just want to make sure.
Read the announcements first.
I want you to be a little closer.
Announcements first.
Now, with the I.S.U.P.K., this are the security announcements. We are the I.S.U.P.K. out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York. New rule for brothers and sisters. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to set themselves to the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After this 6-month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. Numbers, chapter 11, verse 21. Malachi, chapter 3, verses 8 through 10. Means tenth in the Hebrew. Ma'asera. 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you. Give to the treasury department or teacher. Priest fund. Free will offering to priests. Not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like. Upcoming holy convocations. Check into ISUPK.com. You'll get all the updates.
December 9th, Feast of Dedication.
Hey, most time practice. December 9th, you got the Feast of Dedication. Contact ISUPK.com. We'll meet up with during the 7 o'clock in to check the bulletin. To start wearing all black. Imagine. Upon Akidam, which means face east.
Lord. Yahweh, Lakaka, Razaka, Yah, Aisha, God, Yawan, Wasalakna, Wakina, Wasalakna, Wakina, Walaka, Tabayana, Manusayu, Abba, Abashana, Ayan, Ra, Ya, Ha, Mulak, Wa'al, Far, La'alayim, Aman.
The Lord's Prayer in English. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Yahweh, thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth, as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. So be it. Amen.
Psalms chapter 121 in the Hebrew. Asha, Ayani, Allah, Mayan, Azari, Ayin, Yahweh, Asha, Mayu, Warakasa, Ariyadan, Namuwa, Gauka, Yanawan, Shamarka, Hana, La, Yanawan, Allah, Yanishan, Mark, Shalom, Howard, Marcus, Howard, Zalka, Yamyanka, Mom, Hashimash, Eka, Rock, Mariam, Howard, Marcus, Call, Shamar, Aknabash, Howard, Shamar, Zalka, I will know.
Which one is that?
Psalm 120.
Yeah, so we're going to bless it.
Verses for Advent.
No, Lord's Prayer, bless it, Lord.
After doing this, right?
Yeah, Lord.
Psalms 121 in English. I will lift up my eyes to the hills. From what my help comes from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out, and thy coming in. From this time forth, and even forevermore.
Bless it, go to the very last. No.
Prayer for the blessing in the Hebrew. Yahweh. Bashim Yahushua. Rakana. Washab. Wabayah. Hard. Rock. Bob. Gun. Say the name of loved ones once. Everyone repeats the name once.
So for those that's on Facebook or YouTube, if you have loved ones that you want to pray for or send up prayers to, type it in the chat and I'll monitor it. Otherwise, anybody else is wrong, go ahead and get started.
I.S.U.P.K in Indianapolis.
I.S.U.P.K in Indianapolis.
All destroyed Israel.
Israelite school I.S.U.P.K.
I.S.U.P.K.
Lost 12 tribes. Unbelief. And James.
Anybody else I.S.K. Minneapolis.
I.S.U.P.K Minneapolis.
Officer Kudasa Yan.
Officer Dazayan.
Kanaka Bar.
Kanaka Bar.
Among the Bar.
Among the Bar.
Officer Tarak.
Officer Tarak.
Kabad Tabak.
Kabad Tabak.
Kabad Bar.
Kabad Bar.
Akai.
Akai.
Akai. Karadam.
Karadam.
The actress.
The actress.
Nicole Clinton.
Nicole Clinton.
The Harrison.
Harrison.
Mariah.
Mariah.
Tim.
Cliff.
Star Yada.
Zara.
Kawana. Joseph Denny. Paul. Paulette. Des. Aries. Devin. Like Anawa. Kawa. All of Israel. Jamie. Anybody else? All the children. Of Israel. Yeah, all of Israel.
Bashim Yahushua. Duwaraman.
Rakayala.
Formal. Baraman. Bashim Yahushua. Duwaraman. What we just said in English. Lord, in the name of Jesus, bless us. And Israel. And the school. Heal, shield, protect our loved ones. In the name of Yahushua. Thank you. So be it.
So I don't think I should get the contract. No. It's like, you rename this?
Yeah.
It's fine. Keep it standing.
All right, good.
Maybe I'm shy.
This
was now.
Luke's church
Of the richest Israel.
of the richest
That
Israel
refused to give to the school.
that refused to give to the school.
What's that riches?
What's their riches?
Enter the sanctuary.
And to our sanctuary.
Sent evils and curses.
Send evils and curses.
Punishment and destruction.
Punishment and
To
destruction.
the Edomites.
To the Edomites.
And the nation.
And the nation.
And the drug
And
dealers.
the drug dealers.
Court system.
Court system.
Prison system.
Prisons.
Land barons.
And everything.
All the governments of our enemy.
All the governments are on.
Amalek, synagogues, and all.
Amalek synagogue on.
Roman Catholic Church.
Roman Catholic Church.
Pope.
The Pope.
Islam.
Christianity.
Catholicism. Militia. Ku Klux Klan. Every nation. Indians. Rastafari. Gay movement. The lesbian movement. Spies. Workers of witchcraft. National Space Program. Army. Navy. Air Force. Marine. Wall Street. Open up the internet. And the airways. Cable access channel. And the radio channel. Big spirit. Many of our people. And seeking to stop us. Bring swift destruction. All the heathen. Stand in the way. Try to stop us. Broadcasting the word. Throughout the planet Earth. To lose all the players. Cause them to go to and fro. Look through the earth and consume it. Let the plague shake the house of the thief and the murder. The Yahushua, Michael and Gabriel, down to flying saucers. Punish all the heathen that come up against us as we speak our word. Cause it be known by all that is the angels of the devil. Cause it be spread through the media throughout the world. Cause it to shake.com. In the name of Yahushua, thank you always. So be it. Sorry. When Israel, Mother Shabbat, the Mother, Barak, Yahushua, courteous salute to the sisters, men of Israel, Mother Shabbat, Madras, Barak, Yahweh, Yahweh, class